Sean with Gilbreath Guitars, and this is Questions and Answers, episode 3. And I got some more good questions, and today we're going to talk about Tonewoods, pickups, humbuckers versus non-humbucking. Those are the two good questions that I'm going to tackle today because they're a little bit longer and I want to kind of keep the video short. So just to touch on Tonewoods, that's really something that's debatable, and scientifically sound travels farther in a solid than it does through the air, so it makes sense that a denser wood the sound could travel through it faster. Now I don't know if that means the sustain is less with a thicker wood than it is with a more porous wood like basswood or something. But a lot of people that have been in the industry forever and have been playing guitars and stuff, they all have their own opinions. And the general consensus kind of seems to be that alder is a really good tone wood. It's probably the best one. But when you add a neck to the wood, it changes that tone. If you kind of think of it like a xylophone, and those are metal pallets in there. They go from a lower end to a smaller high end, so if you hit it, you get a high note on one end and you get a low note on the other end. So when you start adding necks to it, it changes the tone of that wood. To what effect exactly, I don't think anybody really knows, but generally it seems like alder is probably one of the better ones. Basswood is really good. Basswood, some people call it basswood. Maple seems to be pretty good. A lot of people like mahogany. I tried a couple of experiments where I took a hardwood, a super hardwood like walnut, and made stripes in a guitar and put alder in the center and on the outside of those stripes to kind of maybe bounce the sound off of the harder wood and keep it inside of the softer wood. I don't know if that works real well. The guitars play really well, and a couple of the guys that have them said they were going to send me pictures, and rarely do people actually send me pictures. But I would love to hear from those guys. If you're watching this video, let me know how that worked out for you. So Tonewoods, generally the safest Tonewoods you could pretty much go with are just mahogany, alder, maple, and basswood. And my preference to work with as far as building body is definitely alder. The prettier wood is mahogany, but it's a little harder on your routing bits, and to get tool marks out of it, it's a lot more sanding. So make sure if you're going to use that, get it right the first time. And then on basswood, it's really easy to work with. It smells kind of funny when you're working with it, to me anyways, and it soaks up more of the finish because it's more porous. It's a lighter of the hardwoods, and so you wind up using more primer or whatever your base stuff, tint or whatever you're using. So that question was asked by several people. Most recently, Doug from Accutronis in Nevada asked that question. So thanks, Doug, and everybody else who was asking about that. And then another question I get a lot from people over the last year that I've been doing this is about pickups and what's the difference between a humbucker and a non-humbucking or a single coil pickup. And I'm not sure exactly the science on that either. But when they first started making pickups, they were all single coil pickups, and it would pick up the frequency that's coming over the air, like maybe TV stations or radio frequencies, stuff like that, interference anyways. And when you plug it into an amp, you can hear it. It would buzz, it would hum. And I'm not sure who would recognize this, but they recognized if you switch it in between the two single coils and have both of them on at the same time, it has the effect to buck the hum. It stops the interference from coming onto the line. So they call it a humbucking effect or a humbucker. So they started wrapping those two single coils together, and when they wrap it around it, that becomes a humbucking coil. Two single coils together are one humbucking pickup. Now, what do I like better? That was the last question that was asked by Helen. She asked me, do I prefer a humbucker or a non-humbucking pickup? Me, I like the science behind it, and I like the new technology. I'm a tech guy. I like to do programming and stuff like that. So for me, I like a lot of the latest gadgets. So a humbucking pickup is kind of like that for guitars, and they even have a new one. It's a rail. I like those rail pickups. They're two single coils wrapped into the size of a single coil. So you can get a humbucker in a single coil. I'm actually building a guitar with 2 of those in it, one in the neck position and one in the bridge position. But I prefer humbuckers totally. And but you can get the humbucking effect on those 2 single coils, and you can get really nice sounds out of the rails or out of a humbucking setup to do blues or anything. It just kind of depends on where you put it at and how you adjust the tone. But traditionally, a lot of guys prefer the single coils because it sounds more like the classic tones. Like you might not be able to get those exact classic tones out of a newer humbucking or a humbucking rail pickup. So that's about as much as I know about pickups. Me, I'm more of a heavy metal guy, so I like the bridge position humbucking pickups. I always put it down in there and turn the treble all the way up. But lately I've been playing more blues and a little bit of country because my dad made me promise to learn leads. So, and blues leads are really fun to play. I like that a lot. So now I'm using a lot more of the neck position, but I like the sound of the humbucking pickups in the neck. So I hope that answers a lot of questions and gives you guys some ideas. Also, Helen asked me if I like what pickups I like and where do I get them from. Do I like Seymour Duncan versus like a Fender stock? And the truth is, I've used a lot of different pickups over the years playing guitar, because I've been playing since I was about 15 or so, and now I'm 50. So I think that it kind of just depends on how they're wound. And again, I don't know the science a lot behind that, but I do know a guy that does know the science behind it, and I've been ordering pickups from him. I wasn't able to get the rails from him, but he's got humbuckers, single coils. He can wrap them like a classic style or a newer style if you're a heavy metal guy, or if you're a blues guy, or just rock and roll, whatever. And that's John from Odessa Pickups. That's what I put in my last build, was the Odessa, and they sound awesome in the bridge position, playing heavy metal or rock. They're really sweet, and in the neck position, it has a really sweet tone coming off of them too for blues. When I turn the tone down to more of a bassy tone, or more of a mid and less treble, sounds really, really good. He does a really nice job on those. And everybody else that I've talked to, Donnie Miller actually turned me on to him and said try him out, and he likes those pickups too, and he's been playing longer than me and has been in professional bands and a professional musician this whole time. And me, I was working, you know, in the slave labor with everybody else in the world, and not as a working musician. So I hope that helps out everybody. Tonewood, remember, I like alder. That's my favorite, but you know, I'm not the most knowledgeable person on that. But I probably am more knowledgeable than most people, except some other luthiers. And then on the pickups, with my experience, I like the humbucker, and if I can, I always order them from John. Hopefully he'll start making those rails pretty soon, if he can. I'm not sure if he can or not, but I really like those rails, the skinnier ones, and they look cool. And I have a feeling that where I just got my rails from, they're pretty good pickups, but I have a feeling John can make them better. Is that a challenge, John? All right, anyways, thank you for watching this video, and share it, subscribe, go to gilbreathguitars.com and buy something, and everybody have a very nice day.